Hey, small group leaders, welcome to another week of small group. I apologize for the delay in getting this to you. Totally own that again. Just got caught up in a little bit of confusion with all the chaos of year end giving and just who had what, and didn't know that this was on my list of things to do. So I own it. I apologize. Please forgive me. And I hope that in the midst of this grief that you find joy, um, that at least it's still here. So yes, that was a smart plug on this week's theme. So enjoy it. Again, sorry, another pun. My bad. Yes, you might hear my kids running around here. They are here with me now. Bennett, say hi. Avery, say hi. Say hi. Well, that's as close as you're gonna get to a hi from Avery. There she is. Say hi. Um, this week we're going to be looking at John 16 verses 16 through 33, and this is still a part of Jesus's conversations with his closest followers in the upper room as he prepares for the weekend that will be the cross, the resurrection, and the return or the defeat and the conquer of sin and death, and then yeah, what we know to be what the world and many would look at as an awful thing, and actually in the Christian world is a beautiful thing, and it's the best thing because Jesus does for us what we could not do for ourselves. He redeems, he restores, he rescues by paying the price of sin and conquering death on the resurrection day. So um, in this text specifically, you have Jesus multiple times saying that I'm going to, in a little while, I'm going to leave you, but then I'm going to come back. And really, that's where we want students marinating and wrestling with is how is when Jesus says this to his disciples, when he says this to his believers. Hey guys, can you calm down, Bennett? Why don't you guys go play in the other room, buddy? When he says this to his closest followers, he is talking actually about two realities, and both of them have so much to do with how you and I, as believers, experience joy by knowing Jesus, by following Jesus, by believing in who he is, and believing in his word, and letting that truth play out in our lives, regardless of scenarios and circumstances. And so, what you have is Jesus saying this because what the disciples don't understand is this weekend, this upcoming weekend for them, Jesus is going to die on a cross, and there's going to be a lot of grief, and there's going to be a lot of pain, and there's going to be a lot of confusion, and there's going to be a lot of the world celebrating, and they are going to be confused and hurt and scattered and doubting. But Jesus says, "But I will be back. I'm coming back. Don't worry." And he's talking literally about the resurrection, but he's also foreshadowing. He's talking about the future. That shortly after that, Jesus is going to leave them again. But in a little while, he's going to leave again. But then one day, Jesus promises to come back. And all that has been broken is going to be restored. All the pain and the sorrow. There will be no more crying. There will be no more tears. There will be no more disease. There will be no more brokenness. There will be no more envy. There will be no more jealousy. Because Jesus is going to come back. And to those that believe in him, those that know him, we will finally experience the ultimate joy of being face to face with the Father and experiencing all that he created and intended for life to be as a follower, as a creation of the good creator, the good Father. And so that's something that if you just spent this week talking about that and how what that statement means and why it's repeated four times in just a few verses, and how the position that we're in, knowing what did happen and what happened after that, and what Jesus has promised throughout all of Scripture is something that in that moment, at that time, the disciples didn't have and they didn't understand. And so Jesus, out of love, is pouring out this joy that no matter what the circumstances, no matter what they find themselves, no matter what is going on in the world, we as believers can find joy. Not saying that when we're experiencing grief and we're experiencing pain that it's going to be easier or that somehow it's going to be less painful. That's not true at all. But in the midst of that, we can understand that we were not created for this world, that we were created for the kingdom, for heaven. And so spend time with that. Have them talk about joy. Have them talk about how they view joy, how the world views joy, how has walking with Jesus. Hi, honey. How is walking with Jesus? How they experience joy in their life? How have they experienced a lack of joy, or feel like their joy is being robbed? And how can we look at this text and remember where our joy is ultimately found? How can we look at the verses that are provided and study those and look at those as projecting us towards this joyful experience that only Jesus provides? How can we look at Jesus's life? And even though Scripture says that in his grief, in the moment where he is being crucified and put on the cross, he is joyful because he knows what it means, he knows what it leads to, and he knows what it promises. So have a great week. If you got any questions, feel free to email me or email one of the staff. We'd love to go over that. But have a great time this week. I look forward to hearing more about it, and I hope that your experience with your students this week is joyful. Have a great one.